But football without fans, isn't it? You play a football match without fans, isn't it? It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch, it becomes nothing.
Into Donestk. Larson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! Nakamura! He has done it! Isn't that just typical?
The game is over. The Rebels have won.
A star is born at Celtic!
Champions. That's who we are.
Evening, everybody. How are we?
Hello, lads. Lovely to be
Hello.
back. Shame about the result last night, but absolutely brilliant to be back on a wee Wednesday Tic Talk, shall we call it?
Aye, different one for this week. So obviously, we do the Tuesday Tic Talk every week. But of course, the game was on last night. Some were at it. So we've decided to game on tonight. So, a lot to discuss last night. Of course, where we go for there, the wee analysis, the fucking every single thing you want to say about it. So here we are tonight. Myself, McGinty, usual. Tonight, welcoming James onto the pod. How's it going, Jamesy boy?
Thanks very much for having me, mate. Looking forward to it. Plenty to moan about after last night, anyway.
Mate, I'm sure you won't be the only one. Obviously last night Celtic won, Shakhtar won. That result puts Celtic out of the Champions League and effectively out of Europe altogether. Not the performance and not the result we thought was coming. So we're going to dissect that now. So McGinty, first to yourself, mate. Overall thoughts? Any positivities before you want to go into your fucking usual rantation?
Yeah, I mean, like every game in this campaign so far, guys, it's filled with positivity and the style of football that we're playing, the chances we are creating, the opportunities that we're having, the possession stats, the good old XG stat that I've just looked up there just for your benefit, Paddy. It was something like 1.3 to Celtic and 0.8 to Shakhtar Donestk last night. It means nothing when the game's won each, and it's disappointing as hell. But last night showed in spells, large spells, what we can do as a football club and we can improve upon. It also showed us in large spells, especially a good chunk of 20 minutes in the first half, where we seriously lack in quality and depth. And we need to build on that as well, going into January next summer and obviously into the next, into the next European campaign. Because unfortunately, that's it done. One kind of glamour friendly against Real Madrid, and that's it.
I know it's not really a fucking great feeling, is it, being knocked out already? But a lot to talk about. But before we go any further, obviously, as I say, we usually do the Tuesday night. Couldn't do it, so we're on the night. So thanks to everybody that's tuning in tonight. Different night of the week, so thanks for that. And as always, give the wee like, thumbs up, subscriptions, the whole shebang. We don't usually beg for subs, but well, just that tiny wee bit off 1,000. So if anybody's not done it, do a wee favour, jump on, takes you 2 seconds, subscribe, and you'll see our ugly mugs every single video that comes up. Now that's out the road. Jamesy boy, introductions, pal. Happy to be here.
Aye. Looking forward to it. As I say, plenty to moan about. I felt last night was maybe a wee bit different for the previous games, and that we maybe never had as many clear-cut chances. To be honest, I'd probably say that's maybe the worst that we've maybe played in the groups. Kyogo's one, obviously, an absolute kind of a sitter, seeing it again. Greg Taylor, probably the main positive. I thought he was brilliant. Outweigh that. Bit doom and gloom for me, I think.
No, listen. I think everybody's kind of, a lot of people's got virtually the same opinions, and obviously we all watch the game, we all see where it went right, we certainly saw where it went wrong. But we start off with the lineup. I'm not even go through the lineup. You all fucking know the lineup. The formation. It looked as if it was going to be a 4-2-3-1 or some sort of variation of that. Obviously, the team came through. And the biggest surprise of the night was that Jackie Mackie started up front with Kyogo playing in the same team as well, which again, a lot of people have been clamouring for, a lot of people have been championing, and we finally got to see it last night. So when I saw the team the team lineup and what appeared to be the kind of set formation what it was, I was delighted because I thought right away it was very attack-minded, attack-focused, very positive, especially starting with the two guys up front, or there or thereabouts. Again, how did you think that transpired into the actual game? How did you think that the link-up with Kyogo and Giakoumakis was, and especially with the wider guys, Haksabanovic and your good friend Abada?
Pish. No, same as yourself, Paddy. I was excited to see both Kyogo and Giakoumakis in the same lineup there. It never transpired as we expected. I thought they were going to play the little and large, kind of one holds it up, one runs around, kind of beats the line sort of thing. But Kyogo seemed to play every single position from centre-back up to wide player and anywhere but striker for that first half. It was unbelievable how much they didn't try to form a partnership in that first half. It was disappointing. It was frustrating to watch at times. But I was glad to see that we at least tried to put him in the middle and Haksabanovic went out on the left. I've said it a few times on the podcast where Ange learns from these things. He did it last year. He put Kyogo out on the left against them. It didn't work for us. And I don't think we've really seen Kyogo out on the left again. Not starting anyway. He's drifted there, of course, but we learned the lessons, and I think we might learn that lesson again from last night, that if you're going to play the two of them, you have to play them so much closer together. There's no point having them this far apart. Pointless.
And there's Palman, who's obviously based in Holland. He's a VVV Venlo fan. Massive fan of Giakoumakis. That's the reason why he's here and became a massive Celtic supporter. Everybody knows him, see him in the comments every week. Anthony McGinty, that was probably the best pronunciation of you trying to say Giakoumakis. So
I'm not going to lie. I'll never be able to do that again because I was not so much taking the piss, but I was just trying too hard.
Yeah, it's certainly got better than, what is it?
Giakoumakis.
Giakoumakis or something?
Giakoumakis.
Anyway.
Can I call him Gorgeous George?
You can call him.
Or is that just referred to Sammy?
Mate, you can fuck Sammy. You can call Big Giakoumakis whatever you want because I don't want him. Aye, James boy. Any big surprises? Anything caught your eye straight away when you saw the team lineup?
I just missed the start of what you were saying there, but I wasn't surprised with the team. I thought he would go for it the way he did, but I wasn't expecting to see Kyogo in there. I thought he'd have maybe played Haksabanovic in behind and played Forrest out wide with Abada or Maida. I thought it was quite harsh to drop Forrest after the form he's been in. I thought Haksabanovic, to be fair, was probably one of the better players in the first half. But I can't remember, was it a game a couple of weeks ago? Was it St Johnstone game? We played him in behind and he looked really, really good. And then he's been shifted back out wide. But that was the only surprise for me. I was surprised to see Kyogo, but I didn't think he would have thrown Turnbull in. And obviously, as we went on to see, Aaron Moy isn't anywhere near Champions League level. So, that was it for me. That was the main surprise.
So were you quite upbeat when you saw the lineup? Like, did you think it was, as I said to McGinty, I thought, whenever I saw it straight away, I thought, God, this is quite attack-minded and it's going to be positive and we're going to see a lot of attack and play and, possibly a lot of attempts at goal. Like, was that anything that caught your eye?
100%. Obviously, the team you knew would go for it, but you're always fearful, aren't you, turning it into a game of basketball. You've got Hatate and O'Reilly sitting. I mean, Kyogo's obviously not really doing much defensive work, but Hatate and O'Reilly sitting, there's no much breaking up the play in there. Personally, I know O'Reilly's kind of splitting decision. I seen him get man of the match today. I think the guy must have been watching it.
Who did? Matt O'Reilly.
O'Reilly? Really?
Get the UEFA man of the match. Couldn't get away with that.
Wait, UEFA gave it? Jesus, I thought that would be bad if Celtic gave it, but UEFA gave it?
Oh, stunning with a wee trophy, a wee Champions League ball. But honestly, between him and Hatate, I thought the two of them were trying to have a wee competition to see who could give the ball away the most. But nah, as I say, Greg Taylor, I thought he was the only one that can come out kind of puff his chest out and say he done well last night. Giakoumakis, he was quiet, he done well, took his goal well, but just didn't really get the service.
McGinty, anything you want to say about that? Anything you want to say about that comment first before I take it away?
Absolutely. Thank you, Frank, for agreeing with me because, yeah, it was easy to see in the first half. Kyogo was everywhere but where we needed him. And I think when Kyogo got subbed off, you saw him leaving the park, and then he was in the dugout. He looked a frustrated man at himself more than anything else. And I think that kind of shows you that he knows himself. He's not performing where he should be. And if you're not going to play him straight through the middle, you never get the benefit of him, of what he's doing. He's great at reading the line. He's great at breaking that line, running onto the loose balls, chasing balls down when other people can't in that final third. There's no point asking him to play central midfield or left wing. He can't do it. Same with Maeda, from that matter. Stop playing Maeda on the left. Sorry.
Well, I mean, you look at where Kyogo came from, which was the J League, and I know we kind of different played in a couple of different positions, and he did play out wide. And I do recall that when Anne signed him at the start, he did say he was more or less a winger. And I think what we saw, just because of kind of injuries and kind of stuff, that he was put into that kind of central berth, and he had to be there. Unfortunately for us, he flourished there. So he kind of made that position his own, and the couple of times that he did play out wide, you know, obviously the first game at Ibrox didn't go to plan. I think the next one he played on the right-hand side, it was against St Johnstone, the one that Giakoumakis scored the goal, I think. Ralston crossed it in for Giakoumakis. He played on the right that day, and he wasn't very good either. So I think that's kind of stuck in the minds of people, like that kind of totally bypasses the idea that he can be any kind of winger.
Mm.
But, you know, we have got a plethora of players up front that can play in many a position. But for me, I think that Giakoumakis starting up front was 100% the correct decision for Ange, and I think that the goal justified that. You know, you look at the play that Celtic's been lacking in the Champions League. We've missed physicality up front, we've missed aggression, we've certainly missed goals. So you get all that for Giakoumakis. Of course, there is the kind of the downside that when Giakoumakis comes into Ange's formation, he still has to play the Kyogo role, which is the guy who's chasing shadows and kind of pressing defenders and trying to kind of put pressure on whoever's got the ball. So I think for me that stifles Giakoumakis' actual game, which is predominantly a penalty box striker. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be some sort of blend there, because as soon as you get Giakoumakis service in the box, that's when he's dangerous. And that's what happened last night. You know, Abada does what he does his best. I'm going to go into that a wee bit later on. Abada does what Abada does best, and he gets into positions. Unfortunately, I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was a wee bit of a deflection or whatever, and it fell beautifully to Giakoumakis. First touch finish. He was actually kind of falling when he finished it as well, and it was a great start to the game. You know, for Celtic to finally get a goal, for Celtic to finally go 1-0 up, well again, and to look as if they were on their way to securing a great victory at Celtic Park. But obviously that changed later on. How did you guys find it up to that moment before Celtic scored the goal, James?
It was pretty neck and neck. There was a few spells in the game where early on, as you say, I don't know if you would have noticed it, but Shakhtar, it seemed as if they strung like 40 or 50 passes together, and it just felt as if we were stoning after them. They never obviously amounted to anything, but we're going for it. We're famous for the press. That's what we're looking to do in Europe. Obviously, we've done it against Real Madrid. We pressed them off the park, but then in a must-win game at home, we were kind of standoffish for the first wee while. And whether that's just getting a feel for the game or what, I just didn't feel it was very un-Celtic like under Ange. Just the start we made, I thought it was quite slow. Not even slow, just the pressing seemed off, because we did have a lot of the ball getting out wide. Haksabanovic was probably at his best earlier on. But it was just the pressing when Shakhtar had the ball. It didn't feel as if we were rushing to get it back. It was almost like the thing with the goal kicks as well. Like, we were playing them under pressure all the time, and most of the time they were kicking it long and it was coming right back in them. But it was just as if we couldn't sustain it early on. Do
you think it was a wee bit? I think it was definitely a bit subdued. But there was a wee bit of flatness to the approach, wasn't there? Like, as I say, we saw the lineup. We were expecting fucking kind of rock and roll, sexy football straight off the half. But it kind of it was as if they were kind of struggling to find their feet and find their tempo.
See, to be honest, I felt the full night, even the atmosphere in the stadium, I felt everything was a wee bit kind of flat. Even after we scored, I know it's obviously must win, but in the grand scheme of things, it was like always going to be a tough ask. But I don't know if that maybe played a wee part in it, because like, obviously the anthem, Champions League anthem, is brilliant, but it just seemed to kind of die a death a wee bit when the game kicked off, and it nearly felt as if that went onto the park to the players, because I just felt like we started all right, and then I think it just kind of tapered down for there, really.
Beginning.
What?
Care to retort?
Sorry, I was I'm reading something on the side there. Missed the opening. What were we saying?
Just saying it I felt as if we kind of started off in terms of like an attacking play. I felt as if we started off well, and then it kind of just tapered down the longer the game went.
There's a good 20-minute spell in that first half where the possession stats came up on the TV at one point, and you saw them and you thought, "Oh Christ, we're not doing good here." You could see that they had, as you said earlier there, James, it felt like they had 40, 50 passes. Us not really doing that high tempo press. It felt at times that we were trying to manage our energy throughout that first half, which would have been great to see had we still got to the end of the game with a shitload of energy. But we'd done that usual thing in European football where we got to the 70th minute and we kind of started dying on our legs. Even when the subs came on with Moy and Forrest, Moy's not the quickest. He's got a good brain on, but he's not the quickest at all. It just never seemed... We never got any rejuvenation. There's no energy sparked into the team. We just lacked tempo, intensity. And I think... So I was going to say, I think McGregor being out, I'm not making excuses because we have midfielders who can fill in for McGregor and can still play dominant, intense tempo football. But with McGregor being out and us not having a third midfielder in there, and instead we favoured Kyogo, I think we lost the midfield in that sense of actually controlling the game, controlling where we put the ball, controlling how fast we moved the ball, and we became more standoff in that first half for long spells where we're happy for them to have the ball. But the danger is they've got a guy like Mudryk, however you say his name, who, bloody hell, what a unit of a boy he is and what pace he's got with a cracking shot. He'll go far, but if you've got a player like that and you're going to allow Donestk to have so much of the ball at times, they're going to do exactly what they did to us.
Aye, that he was frightening. His pace is unbelievable. But do you think it could maybe be a wee mentality thing? Because I feel as if after the Real Madrid game, I know we get bet 3-0, but I thought we were absolutely fantastic. Obviously, the first goal was massive. But do you know, feel since then, with the chances we missed, and obviously that's carried into different games, but the Real Madrid game as well went kind of similar. We started and it was blood and thunder, we were brilliant, and then it just kind of tapered off. Do you think that's maybe playing in the players' head as the kind of the group stages progressed?
Paddy?
I definitely. I think obviously, you know, you can have all the talent in the world, you can have a successful team, you can have a successful unit, but obviously mentality is a massive thing in football. You know, I've said this before, mate, that Celtic under Ange domestically are an absolute fucking freight train. You know, they just fucking they steamroll people the majority of the time. But I think for me, what I've possibly noticed is that there does seem to be a mentality for me. Like some players seem to be struggling to adjust for being the big dogs to then coming into the big table against the big dogs. You know what I mean? Because that's clearly, it's something that's been said over the years. You know, we all know what Scottish football is. We all know it's not the best fucking league in the world, but it's still competitive. Let's not tell any lies. But when we do try and make that transition at times from domestic football to European, regardless of the opposition, we do tend to struggle. And it's because we don't play that level week in, week out. So we're no testing ourselves, you know. So again, mentality, as you say, I think that has to be added in, along with obviously another fucking multitude of fucking equations.
Well, I actually had that conversation today because people always reference Club Brugge and kind of teams like that. Obviously, Dinamo's at was it Zagreb, but beat Chelsea the first round. Like the chances we've had, everybody's saying, "Oh, you need a top level striker for the Champions League." I mean, see if you're playing against St Johnstone, Hibs, anybody else in the league, their chances are going in the goal. It's not as if you're using a Champions League ball and you're just totally void of all talent. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, it's a massive step up, but some of the chances are absolutely gilt edged. So that's how you just hope, obviously, the better for it next year. I mean, like Abada, for instance, like Abada in the well, no so much this season, but for the most part, Abada in the league, different class, frightening, scores goals, assists, but then he looks a totally different player when he's getting into Europe. But it's just, I think it is mainly a mentality thing. So hopefully this time next year, it's obviously a totally different conversation we're having.
Well, there's a comment from Mr. Scott Funds. Yes, just home from work. Best podcast out there. Thanks very much. Always good to see you boys. Was a nice strategy last night. We've been unlucky over a few games. We've been dominating. And that actually takes me into, you know me, I don't really like stats, but because I'm having to do the host tonight, I thought I'd fucking bring a talk about. So one of the stats from our campaign so far is that we've had 68 attempts at goal and we've scored 3 goals. Now, out of those 68 attempts, that is only 3 attempts less than Barcelona and Bayern Munich, who are clearly very attack-minded teams as well. So, like, we've spoken about mentality, we've spoken about Mr. Scott Finzer saying that we have been unlucky. As I say, there is like a lot of factors here to take in. We have been unlucky, you know. We went into the Real Madrid game, James, as you say, full of confidence, full of fucking bravado. But listen, we're the new guys here. We want to come in here and cause a scene. And started off brilliantly. And I think if that goal for Callum McGregor had went in, I'm not saying that we'd have won the game, but I think that totally changes like mentality again. So if you take the game to Madrid as we did, right, and you actually get something out of that, then it lifts you up, you know what I mean, and it builds your performance. But continually, when you're hitting the bar, hitting the post, you're missing chances, it can be one of the ones like it fucking totally deflates you. And I think, excuse me, I think that's something that's happened with Kyogo a wee bit, possibly domestically as well, because he seems to have had a wee lull in form. So I think that's affecting guys like Kyogo, whose job is to score goals, and he's not scoring goals. You know what I mean? So there's only so long you can do that before it starts to take a negative effect on McGinney.
Yeah, and it will. I'll go back to 2 things. One is what I said earlier about when Kyogo was subbed off last night. You could see in himself he was frustrated, not at being subbed off, but at the performance. You could see he was disappointed and he's kicking himself for it. And the other point I want to bring up is something that our good man Gavin would probably be saying at this point in time, that this mentality that we're talking about just now is purely the mentality of these players throughout this campaign. I know we've had years of bad luck in the Champions League, bad luck in Europe as a whole, but none of that mentally is affecting Kyogo or Giamakis. Might affect Greg Taylor, maybe, or Jimmy Forrest, but on the whole, the rest of this team, they're not affected by that. That's not Angie's poor record. That's not these players' poor record. They have to go here now for this campaign. And as you both have clearly said and rightly said at the start of the campaign, going into that Real Madrid game with all the confidence in the world to take our game to them, to play them off the park for 60 minutes before, you know, eventually they get the first goal, the second goal, and the third goal. And it looks embarrassing. No, not embarrassing. Embarrassing is getting beat 7-1 off Liverpool, but it looks like it was an easy game for Real Madrid that day. It wasn't. That day, I went away from watching that Real Madrid game thinking that Rio Hatate is going to get signed as Modric's replacement at Real Madrid in the summer. Fearful that, you know, the talent that we've just brought in 6 months earlier is about to be snapped up by one of the best clubs in the world ever. And what a move that would be. It's a pipe dream move. Of course, it's not probably going to happen. But see that to last night, Hatate. What a difference. We went from a guy who's, you know, lobbing balls diagonally across the pitch, wonderful balls into the wide areas, to last night where he was scared to pass forward at times. It was 2 touches, turn around, look back, pass it to Joe Hart if he could. It was night and day, the performance, and that must be a psychological thing as well. And sure, players don't look at the media and the news reports too much, but they will look at some of it, and they will get the vibe that's coming out just now. which not from me, because I actually 100% think this has been a good performance overall. We've just not got the results. But the players are going to take that. They're going to hear that. It's going to be niggling in the back, and they're going to feel themselves that they've not done enough. But for me, they have, because I can see what the three of us here, we're all football fans. We love Celtic. Everybody in the chat does, of course. But we've seen this story before where we get beaten black and blue and we go with a hard luck story. And it is a hard luck story, but it's a different hard luck story. This is one at the start where we can play good football. We can take the game to these teams. And next year, we get a little bit of luck, goes our way. We get the early goals when we need them. Or we get a better caliber of player in, a better defender, a better striker. We don't lose Callum McGregor halfway through the campaign. We go again.
Yeah. So that is something, obviously, I was going to bring up later on. But just before we go into all that, obviously, to touch on the rest of the game, I won't delve too much into it because we all know what happened. So before Shakhtar scored, obviously, Joe Hart popped up with a great one-on-one save, kept it at 1-0. Then I think Mudryk scored. Mudryk, whatever his name is, Mudryk, an absolutely brilliant goal, and he caused us some amount of hassle with his running and his power, something that he did in the last game as well. So this isn't a guy who's just popped up with a surprise and a short performance. This is a guy who, after the first game for Leipzig, for Shakhtar and the Champions League, I heard it on the radio the next day that Arsenal had been looking up, and so this isn't just a kind of run-of-the-mill guy, a flash in the pan. This is a guy who's well quoted. But so obviously he scores an absolute rocket. Thundered past Joe Hart. A couple of people saying Joe Hart's saved it, but I think over the course of it, it was a great goal, great run again. James, as you said earlier on, people stepping off too much, allowing people to run. It was almost a bit of a fear factor. So that makes it 1 each. Silence the crowd. And then, of course, later on, I can't fucking mind what the guy's name was, but that is going to be the miss. As Chris Sutton says, that is probably the worst miss that he has ever seen in his life. I think it was Mudryk again.
Mudryk put it into him.
Mudryk's absolutely horsed forward. He's get by everybody. I think Celtic were high up the park at that time. Lose possession. The ball goes forward. Mudryk gallops down the left as he does. Powers forward. I think it's Vickers. Vickers goes out to try and slide tackle him. Misses. Again, comes through. Ball gets crossed in, and the guy from about 5 yards out, open goal, miscontrols it, and it just bobbles out past for to say one of the worst misses you'll ever see. So let's I actually think it was it wasn't as bad as Van Vossen's, but
I would have to see it again. I think that was closer than 5 yards. I've not seen it since last night, but that was horrible as a miss. Did he? It almost like he tried to want to backheel it in or something. It was just all weird. He had no control, but thankfully he didn't, because I think if they got the second goal at that point, I think we would have just caved.
Aye, I was the same as yourself. But at the game, as soon as it comes across, I actually thought it was taking a touch just to cushion it and tap it in. So I'm peeing my horns. Then I heard the cheer. So it was only when I caught the highlights when I came in from my work on YouTube, baby. Oh, what is he doing? I just like, honestly, he could stand and keep you up. So he's got all the time in the world, all the space in the world. It's nearly as if he does take a touch and then goes for it, but thinks it's going in anyway. And just unbelievable. After massively with that one.
I think the same as you, mate. I think he got caught in the headlights. That boy, he's maybe seeing his name in the newspaper the next day, and he's just totally took his eye off the ball. And it did look that way, as if he was ready to take a touch and just kind of tap it in. But fortunately for us, it bobbled off his foot, and it was almost very slow motion. You just seen the guy's face going like that, and then obviously Celtic Park fucking rolls into fucking uproar. But again, that was another let off, and it's something that's been prevalent against Celtic this season. Which, listen, we all kind of knew with this style and tactic. Ange likes to have his fullbacks higher up the park to support the midfielders, and then the midfielders are out to go and support the strikers. Blah blah blah. That's good and that's great. In essence, it's something that should be championed. That a team's actually going out to try and get into the faces of the other team. They're trying to get up the park. They're not trying to just sit in and take a deflected goal or whatever. They're actually going out and they're trying to win the game. But when you do that, you need to be clinical. You need to be strong. You need to be fast running back. You need to defend as a unit. And we've been lacking in that a wee bit. And teams who are better than us, teams who are miles ahead of us in terms of like money, transfers that they can bring in, talent, they're all ahead of us. And these guys they turn into sharks at that moment. You know what I mean? We're like the dolphin, and the sharks just come and they come and attack us and they get a bite. And it seems to be so often. But again, this campaign, and I know Frank's made a couple of comments. I'm going to get back to you, Frank. I'm not ignoring you. This campaign, I think, is all about our lack of experience, because we are the new boys at the table. You know, this is apart from Joe Hart, Jack Amakis, and Callum McGregor, every single player in that team has never played the Champions League. Andrew's never managed the Champions League. So it's not just on the park, it's off the park as well. This is a totally inexperienced team at that level. And I think for me, the experience, there was a comment for Angie earlier on, and he was saying that, you know, obviously disappointed, frustrated at the lack of goals and, you know, the lack of points, etc., etc. But he did say that this season is going to be one for experience. They have to learn from the mistakes as well as their qualities, and they have to make improvements. They can't just expect to be a team that comes in every 5 years and then be expected to participate. They have got to take what they've done this year, take that into the next campaign and secure the next secure Champions League football for next season as well, and then continue to build on that, which is something we all know as Celtic supporters, because we've not had Champions League like regularly for a long time, too long. You know what I mean? So when you do that, you become stagnant as a club. You don't get to build upon your structure. You don't get to build a team of people that want to come in and play as a Europa League team. Everybody at the best wants to be a Champions League team, and that's the same with the players. So Celtic need to just keep churning these out, the participation in the Champions League, and start to build themselves better. So again, there is some positives. Clearly, there's a lot of negatives, but guys, let's just talk about that. You know, see what your thoughts is.
So,
sorry,
James.
Or no, just what you're saying there with experience. As I say, guys like Abada, like different class in the league, and then I think the Real Madrid game absolutely killed his confidence. He was hooked at half time in the Madrid game, wasn't he? And then
yes,
Maida as well. That I don't think the misses helped him, and it's nearly as if their heads went down. Let's see after 5 minutes if it, maybe something doesn't come off. It's like their head stroke. But then at the same time, I always forget Abada's still only, will be 20 now, isn't he?
20 just now, aye.
Aye. So I mean, he's still a young guy. So
21 now, is he not?
He's still, regardless.
If he is 21, he's only just turned it.
Aye, but you just hope that, like, obviously, I hate when people say experience in football, because experience in football to me just means you're old. I mean, like, you can have somebody that's 38 and played in the Championship, and they'll say they're experienced, but they'll be, do you know what I mean? Like, experience, what does that mean? Just they're old. But hopefully they'll learn for this season and take it into next year, and they'll be able to fix their mistakes. They'll be better for what's happened this year, do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. Because obviously there's a good players in there. Maida, so, but there's definitely a good player in Abada, and as I say, it's not as if he gets a Champions League ball at his feet and just loses all ability, but like to beat a man, like as Abada, to me, he's not a winger, he's like an inside forward, do you know what I mean, like old fashioned. But hopefully, as I say, they just kick on next year. Hopefully they're still here to kick on next year.
Yeah, we'd like to think most of them will be. The benefit of those 5-year deals that we've been handing out the last 12 months. But I think a lot of these players are going to be very much like Ange himself. They're here for a couple of reasons. And one of Ange's main reasons is to develop himself, develop his talent, his style of football, and prove that he can do this. He's proved it in Australia. He proved it with the national team. He proved it in Japan. He's now in Scotland. He's now in Europe. He's not going to walk away from Celtic after doing what he's just done this campaign, which is take the game to every single team that we've played in every single match, and not once have we been embarrassed. We actually, every single game, looked like we could have won that game. he will learn from that. He will go on and he will prove to himself before he leaves Celtic that he can turn this into a winning Champions League team. Obviously not winning the whole competition. That's stupid, but he'll prove that he can take this level of club and win Champions League football matches. And then he'll go on elsewhere. And I think a lot of players will buy into that as well, especially guys like Paddy, who must seriously see the negatives in his game, the deficiencies that's in his games. He's a quality player. I absolutely love it. I thought Real Madrid game was going to be the making of him. It wasn't, and as me and James spoken on WhatsApp earlier on, it seems like his head just went down after that game in the Champions League. He's lost his confidence. You've seen it in other games, even in the league. He looks scared to take a man on properly. He can't turn a man. He can't round a keeper. A lot of his shots are just straight at the keeper at times. But if he's coming in from the right into the central positions, driving with the ball, he's actually got a wicked shot on him. He's a very dangerous player. But he needs to learn the little extra bits to add to his game to make him a superb player, to make him world-class where he will move on from Celtic to bigger things. Because right now, big teams are not going to sign a Paddy. But if he adds those little things, he can go anywhere. And I think he'll stay along with other players, knowing that he's growing here and developing. And then we see what happens after.
So we spoke earlier on about O'Reilly and Hatate in the midfield. James, I know you've got a lot to say about that, mate, so I'll get to you first. I think for me, clearly we are a much, much better team with Callum McGregor in it. He's the captain. He's probably the best player in the team. He's experienced Champions League, so he's been there and done it. He's a highly influential player. He's a leader on the park. And in the last few weeks, the last month, whatever, we have tweaked the system a wee bit, and that's allowed Ange to kind of experiment with the more forward players. So we've kind of went the 4-2-3-1 system or some kind of variation of it, and obviously that kind of flows within the game and changes as different plays. But I think for me, as I say, we spoke about O'Reilly and Hatate in the central position. I think they are massively, massively missing playing beside Callum McGregor, because Callum McGregor makes everything tick. He's shouting at them, he's telling them where to be, he's just offering influence. And I think Hatate's the one that is missing that player, and he's struggling to adapt to being that kind of that two-man pairing. Because at times you see him collecting the ball, he's making that wee kind of role, and it's almost as if he's looking. For me, this is just my opinion. It's almost as if he's kind of looking for Callum McGregor, and he's not there. And when it's not a three-man midfield, they're having to look for Haksabanovic or Abada or Forrest or Maeda, whoever it is. So that spine of your team, there's something missing there. And obviously Callum McGregor is missing, but I still think there's a bit of steel missing. But the defence is pretty good, has been pretty good this season in the Champions League. I know we've lost a couple of goals, 3 to Real Madrid, but they have stepped up a lot at times. Greg Taylor, as you say, James, has been one of the best players in the campaign for me. He's really stepped up. I think the partnership between Carter Vickers, and Jens has been fantastic. Few blips here and there, as to be expected when we play that high line. But overall, very, very, very good. Juranovic, he's been decent. I think his recovery pace is good. He offers an outlet, and he's all right. But again, the midfield is still a wee bit suspect. And I know Aaron Moy comes in. And to be honest, personally, I quite like Aaron Moy. I do think he does the good things. I know, mate. I know. A lot of people really don't like him because he's slow and this and that. But you can see when he comes on, he does try and make things tick. So for me, that's where experience comes into it, because he can see things, he can see openings, he can bring people into it. Obviously, we're no doing as well as we can, but on you go, mate.
No, I agree with you to an extent. Aaron Moy's got a cracking pass on him, but see, for me, that's it. That's all he's got. I don't think he's particularly. Obviously, we've seen he's not scored a goal. Obviously, that's kind of by the by, but it's not as if he's pinging shots in for distance. He's no tricky. He's no quick. To me, he is literally just a good passer of the ball. And that's all right if we're 5-0 up at home and he's come on as a sub and can pick a few passes. Fair enough. But, I mean, he came on last night and don't get me wrong, the one thing I'll give him credit for, see that last kind of 15-20 minutes, I felt he was the only one that was really shown. Well, him and Forrest. But the amount of times he picked the ball out wide, and I think he hit the first man with every single cross, and then it was as if it was in his head, and then he fired one right at the keeper. And it's just, like, I just don't get the point in him. Like, I don't get the point in being there, to be honest. Not even just Champions League, even domestically. Like, he probably is good enough for most games, but I mean, I don't think he improves the team anything at all. I think it was a bit of a pointless signing, to be honest. It was at Motherwell last week at Fir Park in the Cup. I thought he was excellent, but I don't think I've seen enough of him to say that he should be here. I just don't think he's got it, to be honest.
Do you think he's good enough to be a squad player who steps into the mark when, like Callum McGregor is out injured and you're missing that older head, that more experienced campaigner who's played against, top level teams and top level players? And I know he's getting on a bit, like, and his legs are maybe kind of slightly declining, but I think he still gets about the pitch good enough. He still brings others into play. He still attempts crosses. He still attempts passes. He still pushes the team that wee bit forward. Other than guys like Turnbull for me, who just totally go missing when up against a bigger, higher caliber team and player.
I think a lot of it depends on the team, though. Like the team that we're playing. Like, if we were going to like Tynecastle, Ibrox, or like Easter Road or anything like that, and you've seen that Aaron Moy on the team sheet, you've be a bit kind of down in the dumps, wouldn't you? You wouldn't think, oh, brilliant, Aaron Moy's playing. And I know even as a squad player, it just isn't there enough for me. I just think he's there. He's got a good, as I say, a good pass, but nothing else for me. Turnbull, I agree with you. He does go missing sometimes, but I would rather see Turnbull in the team than Aaron Moy. Because as I say, I just don't like Aaron Moy. I just don't think he's got it.
So what would you want to say about O'Reilly? Because I know you had quite a bit to offer about him.
Just as I say at the start, honest to God, him and Hatate, I think the two of them are cracking players, and 100% agree with you. But we knew Callum McGregor wasn't going to be there. He's not been there for a while now. Do you know what I mean? So, like, how long can you keep using that as not an excuse, but as a reasoning? Do you know what I mean? Before we get used to it, McGregor obviously gives them the license to play their game and go forward. Nonsense.
And there you are, young man. Welcome to the world of the fucking socials. Frank Kennedy, James is talking pucking fish. Moyer's a good player. He can't do it in Europe. Who does in that team? McGinty.
But he's only done it once in the league, or domestically.
I agree with James. I think he's just another iteration of McCarthy for last season to this season. He's clearly got a good pass on him. We all saw the assist he got early in the season, and we all kind of half creamed yourself with it. But other than the odd good pass, I don't think he adds anything to this team. He doesn't bring any intensity. He's got a quick football brain, but he's not got quick feet. He slows the game down, which is completely the opposite of what our game is meant to be. He has a good pass on him when he can find it, but he's actually more comfortable turning on the spot and passing it sideways or passing it back. We don't need to play to do that. If I wanted that, I'd put an 18 or a 19-year-old in to say, play it safe, pal, and develop a youngster. We want somebody to step in when McGregor's no there, or when Hatate's no there, or something happens. If I want somebody in there, I want them to be able to come in with at least some of the similar abilities to what McGregor can do and Hatate can do. And that's be able to receive the ball, turn really quickly, and ping the ball forward into an attack. Moy can't do that. Not often enough. He slows the game down. I get what you're saying earlier, Paddy, that is he an option to bring on as a substitute to maybe help shore up a game and stuff like that? Perhaps. But so was Neil Beaton. He's literally, for me, replaced Neil Beaton. And I loved Neil Beaton when he's at this club, but he wasn't exactly adding anything to this team, to the style that Ange brings in. I'm quite surprised seeing Moy for so long now, which is not a long time, that Ange actually wanted to sign him because he just doesn't seem to fit his style.
That's what I literally was just going to say. Like, you couldn't, if you think an Ange Postecoglou type player, Aaron Moyes like the polar opposite.
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually. Is he going for something different? Was he planning for Champions League football and the ability that he might need to slow the game down? Perhaps. But again, like we've already said tonight and every other podcast after the Champions League games, we're excited to see that we're taking the game to these teams. Aaron Moy doesn't do that for us. Not the way that we want to see it and not the way we expect from an Ange Postecoglou set up in a team that Ange would put out. He's not a terrible player. But I'm not saying he's crap. I'm not saying he's bad. He doesn't fit this team.
So let's talk about players that is your typical Ange Postecoglou players. And so obviously we've kind of moved up to the defence. We're in the midfield now, but I just want to jump up front. So Giakoumakis started last night. James, I'm a huge, massive fan of Giakoumakis. I absolutely love him. I think he's the kind of old school bull centre forward that we've been crying out for a long time. I don't think we utilise him correctly by having him running about chasing balls. He's clearly at his best when he's in the box getting service. He doesn't always get the service, which is why he's chasing shadows, chasing the ball. Part of it is a pressing game that he's asked to do as well, but like he's a guy who needs to service. We need to get somebody scoring goals. Kyogo, we've spoken about him. We know that he's struggling. He had a really, really bad miss. I think he was one-on-one with the keeper. And he almost tried to... I think he got in two minds whether he was trying to dink it on him. And it was a very, very timid shot that... I don't know, it was fucking terrible, to be perfectly honest with you. It kind of just trickled towards the goalkeeper, very, very tame. Should have been a goal. But again, let's go back to Ange players. So look at the two guys out wide. Haksabanovic, I actually think he's been one of the shining lights since he's signed for Celtic. He was obviously a guy who says that he was told that he could play left, right and centre. We've utilised him everywhere at this point, and I think he's been a great stand-in for Jota being injured. Then you're left with the other kind of guys, Jamie Forrest, who we know what he can do, what he can't do. It's the other guys I want to talk about, Maeda and your pal Abada, McGinty. So we know that these guys are fast, they're lightning quick. But for me, technically wise, they are not very good. Maeda has had a lot of stick, a lot of criticism, but I love his work effort and his ethic. I think he doesn't shy away from anything. He always gets stuck in. But like Abada and Kyogo to an extent, those two guys, and I said this to you earlier on, McGinty, on the WhatsApp or something, they two guys are off the ball. They get into great positions. They almost do things without realising it, if you know what I mean. They get into these great areas of the pitch where they can be presented with a chance on goal, this and that. But when Maeda's played on the left and Abada's played on the right as wingers or wide players, when they've got the ball at their feet, it's almost as if they don't have a fucking clue what they're doing. A few times last night I saw it with Abada, and obviously I've saw it up 10 times since he's signed, right? And the whole, he's still a young guy, defence is out the window, that's gone now. When Abada gets the ball, it literally, you can see him, you can see the cogs trying to turn in his brain. He just has not got a clue what to do. And when he tries to do something, he's pinging efforts after the first defender. He's fucking skying it wide or whatever. It's no something that we can get away with at this level, especially when we need to get goals, we need to get service up. I honestly think Abada is one of the worst wingers that I've ever seen. Almost kind of Ollie Buck levels in terms of when he's on the ball. As I say, I know what he can do off the ball. His movement's fantastic. He's got some big goals, but when he's presented with a football at his feet and he's told to push up the park with the ball, he can't dribble. He can't get by a man. I don't know what you guys think about
that. I've defended him quite a lot this season. I think he's one of the most exciting players that we've had at the club for a few years, and I think he'll come good. But I can't disagree with what you're saying about his deficiencies. It's exactly that. How many times have we seen this season where he's one-on-one with a keeper, and unless he's got the keeper at an angle and he can blast the ball past him, which he's got a great shot on him, he can't do much else. He can't round a keeper. He doesn't seem to have either the brain or the technical footwork to be able to drag the ball around and actually create himself a bit more space whilst on the ball. Off the ball, as you said, he's everywhere. He'll create space out of nothing. He'll hang back at times and he'll make the dart and run late for the kind of the cross that's coming along the face of the goal. He's brilliant reading the line at times. He's brilliant at following balls up when the shots are rebounded and stuff. But the ball at his feet, it's almost like he forgets what he's meant to be doing. And James said it earlier as well, and I fully agree with him. He's an inside forward. And I know I'm going to harp back to years gone by with Samaras in the team, but Samaras had a similar issue on the left side. Trying to play Samaras as a left winger, useless. Playing more centrally as an out-and-out front three attackers, Samaras on the left, Abada on the right, and a Giamakis up front would be absolutely deadly. Giacomakis up front would be absolutely deadly. But these two wide men, say with Maeda, put Maeda right in there just to keep it more current and relevant. Maeda scores the goals when he does. It's usually because he's in the 18-yard box. He's almost in the 6-yard box. He's starting to become a striker. The ball comes from the other side and he's in the striker's position and he gets his goal. When he's out wide on the left and you give him the ball and he might be trying to do some sort of overlap with Greg Taylor or Bernaby or something, he's not got a clue. I don't know if he's thinking. I reckon Maeda, I know went from Abada to Maeda at this point, but I reckon Maeda's sitting there with the ball at his feet thinking, I'm going to go there, thinking he's a striker, but forget that he's the one with the ball. And he doesn't even know where to go. And eventually, his crossing is pathetic as well at times. But yeah, the pair of them, they're no wide players. And I don't think Maeda's ever meant to be a wide player, although I'm sure somebody in the comments has probably seen a lot more football from Maeda before Scotland that I've ever seen, so who knows?
But again, this is comments that come up for Celtic supporters that you hear as well. Some people question their actual speed, and I think, as I say, off the ball, these two guys they're lightning quick, but when they've got the ball, they're so slow, and I think that comes down to decision making, and that's probably the reason why we've got these guys so cheap, because we can't go out and buy the finished product. So it's times like these, like the whole learning curve and the whole experience thing couples into that kind of argument. Like, you hope that what these guys take is that they need to do better, and obviously it's when their deficiencies come in. But you look at Abada last night, James, his movement off the ball was part of the reason why Giacomakis ended up with the ball in the net, because his movement caused the chaos of the defender and it came in and it landed at Giacomakis' feet. And there's Red Scotland. Abada has deficiencies, but the uncanny knack of arriving late to core is a very real talent. Yes, it is. Definitely a future at the club for Leo if he works on his shortcomings and keeps up with his good points. What's your take on the likes of Abada and Maeda, James?
I really like Abada. There's definitely a player there. And again, just to get back, I think the Real Madrid thing, because when you get hooked at half time, I feel as if in the Champions League, he looks a totally different player domestically. And obviously, I know it's against better competition, but I still think the Real Madrid thing's in his head just because he's a young boy. It was his big opportunity, obviously, get hooked at half time. Maeda, see if Maeda had composure, I think he'd be the best player in the team. But obviously, was it the Leipzig game when he had the ball out wide and it was a cross, and it's just like a brain fart and just kick it as hard as you can the way you're facing. And as I say, if he had composure, he would genuinely be different class. You could probably play him anywhere in the front three if he had composure, but it's a massive thing, obviously, to lack. And obviously, at Champions League level, just Disney wash. Like the chance against Real Madrid, that was unbelievable.
I know that, as we saw, it's not just Celtic that miss open chances, open goals.
We'll sign him for Europe next year.
I hope we sign that Murdoch. But no, listen, we've all had kind of ups and downs in this campaign. It's certainly on paper, it looks a terrible campaign, but I don't think it's as bad as the way it looks. I know we're sitting with Neil Poit, but probably going to get bumped in Real Madrid because I would imagine they're going to have to put out a strong team if they want to win the group. But overall, what's your guys' thoughts on the campaign? I know we've still got one game to go, but generally overall, we'll get the thoughts, and then we'll touch on a couple of things that Frank's had to say through the course of the campaign. So, McGinters.
I'm positive. I've tried to put this into words throughout this podcast tonight at times. It's disappointing. The results have been disappointing. The actual scoreline has been a letdown and frustrating at times. To see the actual football that we're seeing, it's positive, and I'm excited about where we're going to go. Take this campaign, and everybody who was doom and gloom, or anybody who tried to belittle what Celtic are trying to do and trying to become, has says to us that, oh, you can't play Angie's football in Europe. You can't play so open and expansive. You'll get humiliated. You'll get defeated 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, whatever the scoreline may be. We never have. Not once. Not once have I watched a Champions League game from Celtic this season and thought, fuck me, we're getting a hiding. Every single game I thought, we should have got something out of this. We should have won this. Go back 5 years when we were last in the Champions League, and we were getting beat off Barcelona or PSG by 7 goals. We've just played Real Madrid, and we took the game to them. And yes, they won 3-0. I get that. It flatters them, though, because that was not a 3-0 game. That was a 1-1 or 2-2 game. And all intents and purposes, when we sit and watch a game of football and you walk away from it and you think, we don't deserve that. That generally is a game that we should have got something out of. And I think, as I said earlier, I think these guys will learn from it, especially Ange, and we'll go again next season because we never stop. And I think we'll do much, much better. I'm confident that we can get better. I'm confident that Ange can do it because there is football to be played at Celtic, and there is a good style of football to be played. And we're doing it well. So let's keep building on it. Let's keep working forward, and let's be positive about where we're going to go.
Yep.
I'd agree with all that. I think this time, if everything goes to plan as it should, this time next year, I think we'll be able to see how positive this campaign's been.
100%. And obviously, if we can start, focusing on converting chances, but listen, we're obviously getting into the positions. We're doing the right things. It's just the final product. We're getting there slowly and surely. And I think, again, Rome wasn't built in a day. That's the old saying. And Celtic under Ange, I think Ange is trying to build a kind of a mini dynasty. Everything that he says, it's here for the long run. The Celtic team's in it for the long run. He wants us to be in the Champions League year in, year out. He wants the club restructured in a kind of fashion where everybody's singing off the same hymn sheet. We're bringing through our own guys. We're still scouting everywhere. We're trying to bring through the right kind of type of people. We've got Mark Lawwell in, working with Ange now. So everything's looking good on paper. But again, what we see on the park kind of is differentiating away from that a wee bit. But again, the chances are there. We just need to make them count. Guys, I know the games have kicked off and that, but we'll just finish it off in a wee 5 minutes or something. So, Frank Brennan, you're one of the very man who's you've been commenting. I don't know why I totally ignore you. Very negative, I shall say, about the whole campaign for the start. As it stands now, you were probably right. Third would have been a fantastic achievement. But I don't think you can be saying that at the start of the campaign. I think if you go in with the mentality of not even playing a game and saying we want third place, you're going to play like a third place team. You know what I mean? You're not going to maximise your fucking full potential. But as it stands, you were kind of partially right, but you're still a negative old bastard.
No, I think I get what Frank is trying to say with that one about third place would be magnificent. When you really think about it, it would have been. We're playing against Real Madrid, don't expect to get anything off them, but we took the game to them. You're playing against Leipzig, which I know we played them a couple of years ago and we did get results, but again, look who we are just now, where we've came from in the last 3 years or so, as a squad of players and as a club. We're developing, we're young, we're inexperienced as a whole. And then you look at Donestk, and Donestk traditionally have always been a difficult game. Going to Ukraine would always be a really difficult thing to do Obviously, we're not playing in Ukraine, we're playing in Poland. A lot of things have happened in Ukraine that we are all very much aware of. But I'll liken it to the Scotland game against Ukraine, where people thought maybe in the back of their heads, these guys have other things to contend with. Maybe they're there for the taking. Maybe underestimating them a little bit. But we shouldn't do that. I don't think we really did. But maybe as fans, we did a little bit thinking there's 6 points there that you should be getting with ease. When the reality is, it's Shakhtar Donetsk. They've got more money than us at the end of the day. And I'll bet the backroom staff, like the whole setup, is a lot more oiled than what ours is just now. Ours is starting to take shape. You've heard me last year about the disgrace of the backroom staff and how we're set up as a club has always been shoddy and amateur. But it looks like it's taking shape, and I'm positive where we're going. But we're so early in this, and these are established teams. So getting third place would have been magnificent. But you need to shoot higher. You need to shoot for that second place.
Yeah, and just before you come in, James, I just want to make a wee point as well. So you look at the teams that we played this season. So you're talking Real Madrid, the current champions, current world champions, the most successful team in football history. Absolute sensational, kind of valuable player system. They've got multi-million-pound players. Then you've got Leipzig as well. I know they had a bit of struggle early on, but they sacked their manager, brought in Marco Rose, beat Real Madrid last night comfortably, played very, very well against us. A different kind of opposition. Again, you're talking guys like Timo Werner, 37 million, and Kunku, valued at 90 odd million. Then you've got Shakhtar, guys like Murdoch, who are being valued well up into the 50s million. So this is the types of players that we're coming up against. And we're trying to compete where we can. And I know it's not great at times, and I know we're still very, very down the pecking order, but we can only try a different approach. Clearly getting in and trying to sit in and letting other teams play football and maybe try and pop up with a kind of goal for the break of play isn't going to work for us, because teams have just got further and further and further advanced. Well, we've not been in the Champions League. You know what I mean? And it's not just Celtic, by the way. Like Juventus have won out early. You look at the amount of players that they've bought, the expenditure on their team. Inter Milan beat somebody 4-0 there. So I think that means that Barcelona are out as well. So like Juventus, Barcelona out at the same time as Celtic. Do you know what I mean? So it's no, in any shape or form, an embarrassment for us to be out, especially when we've went to teams and we've tried to have a go. And as McGinty says earlier on, we've not been embarrassed. You know what I mean? We had to make Real Madrid play to Real Madrid standards to beat us. That's how good we were. You know, but again, it wasn't the fairy tale fucking story for us, but there was a lot of positives. And I'm comfortable that there was positives out of this. So, James, what's you going to say, mate?
No, I agree with you, mate. Overall, it's positive. Don't get me wrong, when the draw get made, I would have took your horn off for third. I thought second was pushing it quite a bit, to be honest. But I think if there's one game you're going to look back on and think should have probably done a bit better there, the Shakhtar game in Warsaw, I think that was there for the taking. I think if we won that, then it makes last night a totally different game. But I think it kind of gives us a bit more belief in everything moving into the second half of the group. I think that's probably the one missed opportunity whereby we should have won that game. But as I say, overall, hopefully we're all the better for it next year.
Definitely, as I say, everything's a learning curve, isn't it? So you need to take the negatives when you're trying to build. You know what I mean? Everything's not going to be all perfect. But it's a decent introduction for Ange into the biggest competition in Europe. So hopefully it's better next season. But so Sunday we're away, aren't we? We're away to Livingston.
Right.
We're at the Tony Macaroni Stadium against
Spaghetti hat.
Spaghetti Hat. What's the predictions for that? Do you think we'll bounce back? Do you think that we'll take our frustrations out on David Martindale's Livingston?
I've still got PTSD for this, so I'll take a scrappy 1-0 off an arse, an OG or something. A win's a win in the games.
Is that going to be? Is that going to get a VAR decision though?
Oh fuck! Aye, we better get prepared for the Hofer injury time now anyway.
I actually forgot about that for a second that we had VAR.
I was just going to say the same, Paddy. I totally forgot that we actually have VAR now, and it's going to be an absolute disaster. I was going to say against Livingston, still shite pitch that they've got. Aye,
yeah,
it's usually a scrappy game. I've seen so many games over the last decade there that have been absolute dog shit. So I'm not expecting too much. I would love to see us get 4 or 5 goals again, obviously, every single time we play football. I want that, but it's Livingston away. I'm expecting scrappiness. I'm expecting them to be in for a fight. I expect them to be kicking lumps out of us at times. And I expect whoever the man in black is going to let it happen. And now that you've reminded me that the VAR's there, yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'll take a 3-0 win, though.
Oh, very good. Is there anybody that you would like to see coming in for the game? Anybody dropping out? Would you like to see Forrest coming in? Maybe, Michael Stevenson. You better be right, son.
Oh, happy days if so. Is Jota back? Is it worth risking him?
I don't think you'd risk him on the pitch.
That's what I'm thinking. On that pitch, maybe no. Maybe keep him for Real Madrid, but then maybe you want to warm him up for the Real Madrid. I know we've got nothing to play for apart from pride, but that's exactly what we'll go for. But if we can, I would have Jota on the left and Haksabanovic through the middle. As James said earlier on, he came in, was it the St. Johnstone game you said it was, where he played in the middle?
So, I just after that made
And he was superb. On the right, you can see what he tries to do, but he's not a right-sided player. In the middle is that number 10-ish kind of player. He was superb. On the left, I like him. And I think he should be the one to challenge Jota, not Maeda or anybody else. Mm-hmm. But to have both Jota on the left, Haksabanovic in the middle, Forrest on the right, and Giamakis up top, I think that would be quite an interesting front line, especially for Livingston. A bit of strength, a bit of experience, and some directness and speed there.
And do we continue on with Giamakis? By the way, I saw a stat. I saw a stat on Giamakis. I've no checked it up, but it doesn't look too far off the mark. Giamakis, 21 starts for Celtic, 20 goals.
It's something like that, isn't it? I think he's made like 40 appearances or something. Obviously with subs and stuff, and it's 20 goals. Something is a really good return. And he started slow last year. Obviously, he had his injury that continued after we signed him, sort of thing. He didn't get a game for a while. We were all questioning where the hell he was. But once he got going around about kind of Christmas time into the new year, he came into form and came into his game right at the time when Kyogo was going out. So that was superb to see. And he's continuing it into this season, even so that he's playing bit part plays at this point, but he's a guy who should be on the team sheet first before Kyogo.
Totally agree. And by the way, yes, it is 1-0 to Napoli. Cross comes in for the right-hand side. Defenders left in no man's land, and the Napoli boy slots it right by McGregor, who stood waving his arms.
Happy days.
So listen, thanks to everybody that's been watching tonight. I know it's been a different change of schedule for us coming on a Wednesday night, obviously with the football, last night. So thanks to everybody that's been watching, commenting. Again, get the likes in, subscribes, the thumbs up, the wee bell, the wee alerts, all that jazz. McGinty, pleasure again as always. James, absolutely great to have you on the night, pal. I know you popped your cherry on the old podcast. Done a great job, mate.
Enjoyed it.
Done a great job, mate. Hopefully we'll see you about a lot more on the old the Jungle Gyms. But everybody go and click on Comedy Central and go and watch the Sevco game. So for all of us here,
hail lads, hail.
Good night, hail, and we'll see you on Sunday for a post-match. Catchies.